Hey, what is up, guys? I'm Top Black Musician Drummer, and welcome to Essential Drummer Podcast. So, today, I got a really great friend of mine and a drummer and all that. So, this dear friend of mine, we actually went to school together, and he was actually one of the finalists over at the PA, kind of like the PASIC Percussion Art Society drum set competition. And he's a part of the top jazz band over at Texas State University. And he's such a great guy, great performer too. And so I'm glad to have my great friend, Isaac Pulido. Welcome, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me, Todd. It's great to hear from you and great to see you. Actually, it's been so long since we've seen each other.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man, and all that. Like just after graduation, and you're still living in San Marcos. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. Right now I'm back in Houston. I just went to come visit my parents for a couple weeks just because I hadn't seen them in like 6 months or so. But yeah, I'm still in San Marcos.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So I'm actually quite curious about like the if you don't mind me asking about like the COVID thing. Like, how was like the school like over at Texas State during like the COVID thing? Like when it was like starting to happen.
So we got out for spring break, and then I think it might have been like halfway throughout the week we received an email saying that school was just going to be set to like online classes for the rest of the semester. And we're supposed to be having in-person classes for the fall semester, but I mean, I don't really know like what to expect, even though they released that statement, just because there doesn't seem to be any progress, with getting over or for like finding a vaccine for COVID and like, maintaining safety regulations. It just, to me, it seems like really almost impossible, but I really don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess, for the remainder.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just been crazy. Like I was actually over here in Houston. I was thinking about going for audio engineering because my community college is like 7 minutes away. And the good news for me is that I had a family emergency thing, so I had to drop my classes, and that was a good thing because I really did not want to deal with that online stuff and all that. But yeah,
man, it was really hectic.
Yeah. Now, we both have the same. For people that don't know, we actually have both the same drum teacher, Butch Miles, and all that. So, did you get to still do lessons with Butch during this time?
Well, I mean, he sent out an email to like every student in the studio, and I'm sure he intended on doing that, but he didn't have any lessons with me personally. And I asked like Israel or Patrick, and they were saying that he didn't really have any lessons with them as well. So so to answer your question, no, we didn't have any lessons. And I mean I was bummed, but I understood, just because trying to have a drum lesson over Zoom or FaceTime, just like the audio would have been an issue, and
right, Wi-Fi,
I guess the internet connection
else.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see that. And right now, like just after graduation, like right now I'm teaching, and most of my stuff is actually with Zoom and all that, because I teach a little bit, and sometimes
how's that going?
It's actually doing really good. Like the place I'm working at right now is like I'm doing both drums and piano. I'm very grateful with how Texas State prepared us for the piano, because I'm able to show them some piano stuff. And I'm like, hey, I'm not a pianist, but here's awesome. Something I know. So, but anyway, the teaching stuff is going pretty good. And I wish I could be.
Great to hear.
Yeah. So, I do want to ask about the Percussion Art Society drum set competition and all of that.
Yeah,
it's
man,
like, so with that competition and all that, what did that entail? And also, like, I heard that it got canceled and all that. Are they like trying to do something about that? Like do something for the finalists, or is like just permanently canceled?
Yeah. So I guess the requirements of it was like you submitted a video of you playing along to just a play along drum track. And really, I was just trying to go chop heavy, just because it's Percussive Art Society. I'm sure they would want to, show drummers playing some nonsense on the drums or whatever. But so I submitted a video, and then I heard back in February, that I was a finalist. And then I think the next month, or it might have been in April, I received another email saying, like you said, it was canceled. So they reached out and were saying that they still want to give the exposure and like share information to like the percussion specialists and drum companies that they know, which is, I mean, that's cool. I'm glad that they're still trying to provide, I guess, opportunities for us to get our names out there while we're stuck at home.
Right.
But unfortunately, like, I was really looking forward to competing, or not even really competing, but just getting to meet these other drummers and just hang out and get to learn more stuff. But it's just canceled. They didn't even want to reschedule it because I think, if I remember correctly, the email said that next year and like the remainder of this year was just like booked and they couldn't find any available space to reschedule it. But it was a bummer, man. I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I could feel that, man. Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. And it's good that they're doing something about it a little bit. Like they're kind of like doing their part. They're trying to their best ability to do stuff. And yeah, and it's just been so crazy with this type of stuff.
Yeah, dude.
I did want to mention about it kind of reminded me of something when you were talking about like just meeting the other musicians. Is I want to talk about a little bit about drum jams a little bit. I don't think a lot of musicians kind of do this. Specifically drummers and all that. Like
like you. I'm sorry, you said drum jams, like drum setting and all that stuff.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, and
man.
Like I know, like this is something that I used to do, which is actually just a normal jam session, like maybe somewhere in Houston, like I think it's Cafe 4212, and they usually have jam sessions over there, just a usual casual, like regular jam sessions. But I don't think a lot of people do drum jams and all that. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about drum jams and your thoughts about that.
Sure. I know whenever I go to a drum jam or like a drum shed with my friends, it's really like I'm typically the one that has to host it, or if another friend wants to get together, then they'll reach out. But they're not so common, at least in my experience. Like I've only hosted a handful, and I've only ever been invited to like 3 or 4, to be honest. But they're a lot of fun, and I know like it's nothing. Like I know that no hard feelings or no, I guess, bad vibes. You know, like none of that should be brought into the drum jams, because it's just everybody's there to learn from each other and to just play drums and have a good time. Like, and that's what I've always tried to keep it when it comes to hosting those things, because like if the skill level is different on everybody's end, it's very easy to get discouraged. And like that's, in my opinion, that's not what it's all about. Like drums is not a competition, and neither is music to me. It's just, you know, we all have a specialty in music, and we could all learn from each other from it. You know what I'm saying? And it's better to lift up people than to discourage them with whatever it may be, you know?
Right. And that's what I like about drum jams and all that is because I usually think, we usually think in a musical way and not as like drums as like, oh, I'm just going to beat the drums and see how fast I can go and all that type of stuff. But just thinking of it in a musical way. And I really like the fact that drum jams are pretty much a way to express musical creativity and also like getting other people's vocabulary and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, that's the biggest thing with music is like just collecting other people's vocabulary and making it your own, which I see you do that a lot on your Instagram. Guys, check out this kid's Instagram and all that. a lot of really, really great musical stuff going on. And
thank you very much, Todd.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. And there was I remember one post that you made. It was actually you shared something on your Instagram. It was like a while back, like I think maybe a couple of weeks ago. And hopefully you remember this. It's there was this thing you shared about like Nate Smith and had like a little bit of a transcription going on with like Evans. You remember that one?
Yeah, I didn't make that transcription, but I happened to like stumble upon it on Instagram.
Right.
And dude, I don't know how anybody had the patience to sit down and do that, because that video, if you remember, he was just like switching it up and playing all this crazy stuff, and like the fact that somebody nailed like every single, I guess, like division of what he was playing, like the grouping of notes and stuff, it just blew my mind. And I was like, man, like if I had the patience to sit down one day and learn it, I definitely would. But just, yeah, that was a crazy video, man.
Right. And it actually made me think of a question with that.
What's up?
Is that it is possible to like actually play accurately of like that notation, because for example, like the black I think it's the Black Page from Frank Zappa and all that, like that crazy notation. But it gets me to thinking that in modern, like modern drummers of today and all that,
Yeah.
I'm starting to have like this little thing that they have this little sense of like, I'm not sure what the correct term is. I might be making up this term, but roboto drumming, where I kind of feel like that they might be like feeling it. Like for example, like Nate Smith and all that. He is like,
Oh yeah,
I think he's just super deep within the music. Like he's basically like a piano player where he's like just feeling it, or a celloist, like just feeling it with a rubato feel and all that. So what do you think about that?
I agree with that, man. I think that a lot of the things that the musicians that we look up to, like Nate Smith, for example, I think that they're so into the music that like they don't think about like technique. I'm sorry. They don't think about technique, and they become the music and they play. And a lot of that stuff really is hard to notate because it's just like, it's feel. It's exactly what it is. And it's emotion, and it's like an extension of them. And the fact that that man or whoever transcribed that video of him playing just like really blew my mind because a lot of that stuff is just like a bunch of nuance and feel and like expression. And I'm just like, wow, like how did anybody have the time to really sit down, you know, and like put this together? That's really crazy to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I was checking out that person's like, I can't remember who it was that because I clicked on like who actually posted it, and I can't remember who it is. So if you're listening to this, I apologize and all that for not giving you credit. I apologize, person. But there was some pretty great stuff on that page and a lot of notation. So correct me if I'm wrong, but did you by also chance like jam with David Cola and all that? It's like when you were in LA.
Yeah, man, it was really crazy because so I went to LA for some music stuff, and I reached out to a friend of mine, Andy Prado, who's just like another crazy drummer.
Okay.
And I knew of him through Instagram, and I knew he was going to be in LA. So I was like, man, like I really like the way this guy plays. I need to get a lesson with him. So I reached out to him, and he was really kind. He was like, yeah, man, like come to my studio. It's in Beverly Hills. So I hopped in an Uber and like drove like an hour, and I pulled up there only expecting like Andy to be there. He was like, yeah, man. I called him. He was like, come inside. We're in here hanging. I was like, well, who else is there? So I walked in, and I see David Cola on the drums and Andy Prado playing. And I was like, what? It was really unexpected, but he's an interesting dude. He wasn't rude or anything. He's a kind guy, but like,
right.
Like seeing him on the internet, you only ever see his like drum videos, or I guess he makes vlogs too, but
oh, he does.
He was an interesting dude. He was saying some funny stuff that I was like, what? But I mean, he was a great guy, and I got to play drums with him too, and I learned some stuff from him. He taught me some licks, but man, that was a fun time. I got excuse my language, I got my ass handed to me, but that's what I wanted. Like I sometimes you need to have your stuff broken down to learn more and like be vulnerable. But it was a good time, man. And they weren't, like hard asses. Like I expected everyone to be out in LA, and it really surprised me. And they were really kind, and I still talk to them to this day. They pass me their numbers, and I have their Instagrams, and we talk every now and then.
Right. And that's really good that you're still like talking to them and all that. Like that networking type of thing, and grabbing like some piece of vocabulary from those like cats over there and all that. Pardon my jazz language, but cats, yes. So, but now Now, I'm not going to ask that because that might be a very, very detailed thing. Like I was thinking of saying, like, what was like one of the greatest things you learned while we were? Well, that might be a great question.
No, man. Yeah.
What was like the greatest thing like you learned from like some of these drummers? And I think you had a lesson with one of the guys, right?
Yeah, with Andy.
Yeah. What was the greatest thing you learned from over there?
Man, I learned that like there's no faking it. Like if you don't, you either are on top of your game or you're not. Like I came in there like, man, you know, I can play some chops, or like I can hang, and then they were just playing at the speed of lightning, dude, or at least Andy was, and it was so precise. So I also was like, well, how do you practice that? And another good thing they taught me was just like, it seems like common sense, but oftentimes I forget it and I have to remind myself. But just breaking things down, like simple rudiments, and I guess this is more for developing chops, which at the time I was really into, so it stuck with me. But Andy Prado taught me how to break down rudiments and like really practice them at slow speeds, and like spend lots of time developing that and working up tempos, and then also how to incorporate that into, I guess, what you play in like a musical standpoint, you know?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, the biggest thing I learned was just also to go for things. Like when you're playing music, like to not have like a lack of confidence in yourself. And those are like the main things I really took away from that. And I'm still working on it to this day, but they definitely reinforced that like I need to step my stuff up and like have more confidence in myself when it comes to just making music and playing drums, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's something that some people do lack a little bit. It's like sometimes, like for me, like there's a difference between being confident in yourself and then confidence in your playing and all that. That's me speaking a little bit because like
I mean, same
yeah,
with me, man.
Yeah, and like I've been like noticing a little bit more about like a little bit of my timing and all that, and so I've actually been doing something pretty interesting. Like you were saying, like about rudiments, about like really learning the rudiments, and so I actually did something. I'm pretty sure someone else has done this, but I just basically grabbed stick control book, and I did this little thing where I think I might make a YouTube video about this and put David Cole in the thumbnail and say, this is David Cole's secret and all that, which is not. It's a clickbait, guys. But all it is like in stick control, there's like two, for example, if we were going to do like paradiddle and all that, there's a paradiddle in stick control. And for the first, like, I think first two beats, it's just going to be as written. And then the next two beats, sub the R for like the right leg or sub the R for the left leg or something like that. And that's something I was messing around with. And I'm like, man, I'm actually having a little bit more control with the kit.
That's good.
So
yeah, that's what Butch taught me when we used to have lessons, was like, you know, the what is it? The book where we had all those like triplet and 16 note grid
rhythmic patterns, Joe Casares.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or was it the John Pickering? Was it that one or the
it was. I mean, it was both really. Like now that I think about it, but really the John Casares book, like, which was like, well, you can take these patterns and orchestrate them amongst drums like differently. You don't have to play, you know, exactly what's written. And when I started doing that, I was like, well, okay, this is cool. So what if I just took my ideas and then wrote it out or whatever, and then flipped it or reorchestrated it. And that really helped a lot with like creating, I guess, new patterns or new sounds to play on the drums, to like, I don't know, just get a specific sound or a specific chop or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And some other drummers, they also like, for example, John Riley and all that, which I think we both met John Riley because he visited Texas State.
Yeah, man.
And all that. And that was just a surreal moment.
Yeah, that was really insane.
Yeah. And like one thing from his books and all that is like taking like a musical idea, because basically what it's like these books can do so much and all that. It's like books can do so much, but it basically does give us like a building block to go off of. And so
exactly.
And with John Riley, he was like basically saying like you could stretch the idea rhythmically, or you can like make the idea smaller. And another possibility for creativity with those books and all that, like
Yeah.
books. Yeah, and those books, like for example, like Stick Control, Syncopation, New Breed, and all these other books, like
They're
imagination.
great.
So they are great, and
Yeah.
the next step with all those books is imagination and all
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and in our own practice too.
Right. You know, a drummer by the name Mark Juliana?
That sounds very familiar. Yeah, that's very familiar. I can't remember who he is right now, or
I'll send you a link after the interview to some of his stuff. But I remember, man, I think I had asked John Riley a question about him because that was one of his students, I think, at like Manhattan School of Music back in the day. But he was saying that Mark Juliana used to like take the art of pop drumming, and he would take the comping ideas and he would like straighten them out and like turn them into like chop phrases, or do some crazy imagination stuff like you were saying, which is like,
right.
you know, the opportunities are endless to as far as like what you want to do with it and like where you want to take it, which is a good point, which is something I need to get back into, because lately I've just been searching for inspiration, and like, I don't know, I'm going off on another subject, but yeah,
that's okay.
That's like exactly what you're talking about with imagination, like how to reorchestrate what's like the information that's already given and just like make it our own, you know?
Oh yeah, and John Riley does a really great job with the first book. Is pretty much like, it tells you like pretty much everything about like how to use imagination with like all these other books without him actually explaining that, like the orchestration thing, like the book I actually I posted a lot about this book, Hi-Hat Integration, and that book is so hard and all of that, like super hard, and I'm only able to get to page 8. It has 32 pages, and it's like, whew, oh god. But anyway,
are those little like clips that you post on Instagram with the, yeah, man, I see those patterns and I'm just like, what the hell? I'm like, how do you play that?
it takes time. Like I wasn't able to do the first page, and I talked to my drum teacher Butch, and he helped me out. He helped me out a lot.
That's good.
Get through with that. But anyway, orchestration, I changed the orchestration with that. Like instead of like doing the hi-hat, do the same pattern with the ride, or do the same pattern on the toms. And what that actually does, it actually helps out by using your left foot more, which is not a lot of drummers use their left foot a lot, and it's like a mysterious thing. And there was something else I was going to mention about orchestration. Oh wait, John Riley. This is something my old drum teacher Joel Fulgham did with John Riley. He flipped the book upside down.
Oh wow!
For the comp page, the comp examples, he flipped it upside down. It's like, okay, read it. I was like, what?
So like say like if the kick was okay, so you know how like on like if it was a normal side, like if it was on the normal side of the page, the kick is on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So like if you flipped it, would that mean that like the kick would become the ride pattern, or like tom or whatever?
It could be the snare.
Okay.
Like switching the snare and the bass.
Right.
And
I see.
yeah, so it's going to be like that. And he also, this is something that I kind of come up with, is like changing the ride pattern, like do like a 3/4 ride pattern throughout the whole thing. And I'm like, I have to write that down. I have to write that down.
Yeah, man.
Something like that. Oh gosh, or the Tony Williams Group 5, but just so many examples.
Oh my god, man, the Tony Williams stuff, the Tony Williams portion and the Elvin Jones portion of that book are just like insane. Like trying to work it up to speed and all those transcriptions is just like, how?
Yeah, there was a master class I was listening to with Tony Williams and all that. He's pretty much a guy that has like total control. Oh yeah, and he admits it too. Like people that don't see it and all that, it's like he has like pretty much this thing about backhands type of thing. And when he talks, he says like he has control. He knows what he's going to play next. And I'm pretty sure most of us drummers like kind of like do the fake version where it's like we just let the stick bounce. Oh yeah. I'm not sure if it's wrong or right, but everyone's different and all that. Yeah. I used to do that, and I still do that to this day.
Yeah, me too, man. When I'm feeling, I guess, what's the word? Like adventurous, I guess. And I'm trying to squeeze out 4 or 5 notes. I'll try to like use my fingers, but oftentimes, man, I just like screw it, I'm just gonna bounce it. And then I'm like, okay, let me go back to normal. Let me not waste my energy.
Yeah, it's a good trick. And all that. It's like I sometimes do that with my bossa nova patterns. It's a really great trick to make people think, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I have full control of it. Yeah. No, it's
Man, and
it's
then
a tool.
like the push pull technique too.
Oh yeah.
That's a good little like, it took me a long time to figure out, but I can only do like, I guess, eighth notes, like the speed of it, like
right.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and like I can't work out squeezing in like, I don't know, like 16th notes, like dun da da dun da da dun, or like dun da 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 dun. You know what I'm saying? Like the 4-note patterns or 5-note patterns that Tony Williams does. But
right,
that, from what I've seen and like some of the drummers I like, I don't know how they do it, but they're the push pull and like the rebound of the stick off the cymbal, just like, it's just so perfect that they have so much control in their hands and they're able to do that. Like, I don't understand that.
yeah, and I think I know which. There's several guys I see on Instagram and also Facebook. I'm part of a couple of Facebook groups for drummers and all that, like Facebook Drummers, Facebook Drummers International, like some of these Facebook groups. And there's this guy. He has really, really solid technique, and he's
Is his name Johnny?
No,
Johnny Madar or something like that.
Yes, yeah, I think yes, that guy, yeah.
Yeah,
and
that guy's crazy, dude.
It is, and it's like, yeah, he was super crazy and all that, and like nothing bad about his drumming and all that. Like, I'm not like bad about his drumming and all that, but it just makes me question a little bit that I'm not sure if it's the recording or how the drums are set up and all that, but it just like his technique is so perfect.
I know, and I'm just like, how the fuck? Sorry.
That's okay.
That's how I feel. Like, it's just like, it's frustrating to see someone play it so well.
Right. It sounds like a drum machine a little bit. Like the dynamics are so perfect.
Yeah, man. And he'll like squeeze out like 5 or 7 note like pattern, like Tony Williams stuff, just doing like open close. I'm just like, how the hell, man? Like, it's not fair.
Yeah, and he makes it seem like so simple and all that. Even when he talks, dude. And he's like, there was one thing where he was like doing like hands together, hands separate, and then he was like talking about how to let the stick bounce, and he was like, it's that simple. And he made it seem like that. I was like, bro, you're much older than us and all that. You know something. You know some deep stuff, man. You know some deep stuff. Real. So I'm curious, man, what are some things you've been practicing lately?
Well, I will be honest. The last 2 weeks, like I said, I've been in home with my family, so I didn't bring my drum set, and I wish I did, because I really miss playing drums. But I guess before I left, I was working on just like, I was really trying to get back to working on my time and my feel for jazz. So really try to swing harder, and I really wanted to work on my technique. I didn't like how my fingers looked, or how my hands looked, and how it felt. I was really tense, and like also like my back and my shoulders. So I try to loosen up and just like really fix all the many things that I let slip along the years.
Right.
And then also just locking in time, like with the metronome. Like I've noticed that I tend to rush in certain musical standpoints and then drag in certain musical like environments, and I just want to take control again to just, not drag or rush.
Right. And it's a natural thing to drag and rush, and that kind of makes like drumming like more of like the human experience a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and definitely. All that. And there are several things I've heard specifically from like Greg Bissonette and my drum teacher, who's actually friends with Greg Bissonette, one of my old drum teachers, Joel Fulgham. And this is one thing he was saying. I'm pretty sure you've probably heard this about. It's like metronome gaps, where there's like it plays like the click for like 4 bars, and then there's 4 bars of silence. And I'm actually that's one thing I've actually been doing too, is actually working on my time and all that, because I'm like, I really do not want a click track in my ears and all that. Some people have been like that. I'm like, okay, is there something you want to tell me and all that? And so, that's something I've been working on because I definitely know that I rush on my fills or like just like trying to do some creative musical idea.
Yeah,
And
same. Like, especially for me on fills, man, just the timing. I tend to like get excited when I do a fill or something, and it just pushes the tempo. So I'm right there with you, man.
right, and with that, and it's on YouTube and all that. There's I can't remember who the YouTuber is or just the channel itself, but
Mm-hmm.
this place has the four thing, the four beats and then the four no beats.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
I just leave that on and I'm just freestyling a little bit, make sure it's in time. And if it goes off, like I'm still counting in my head. And if it goes up, I'm like, okay, quick adjustments. I apparently had false judgment of what the time is. I apologize and all that. That will not happen again. Oh, lie. That happened again. You know, that.
It happens to the best of us, man. You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
How have you
So
been though, Todd?
how I've been doing. Let's see. After graduating from Texas State University, I have been doing pretty good and all that. It's like just after like I've been at like Texas State for like just only 2.5 years, and so now
Mm-hmm.
just graduating, like kind of like back at
Wow.
home, like regrouping. Well, I was a transfer student and all that, so
Yeah.
it did take me that long and all of it, but
Sorry, I was just saying wow because like I was just thinking back to 2017. I was like, man, time flies.
it does, man. It does. Like the thing I wish for people like still in college, like where how many years do you have left over at Texas State?
I've hopefully got one more year. I'll be graduating in spring 2021 if if everything goes as planned.
Right. Yeah. The only thing like I wish that when I was like still at Texas State is study as much as possible and all that. Like use all the resources that are there, like the library, and there's some great stuff over at the Alkek Library. That's the Texas State Library over in
Yeah.
San Marcos, and practice as much as possible. And I wish I did that while I was over there because most of the time
It's really tough, man. It just like it's ironic. Like with our major, you would think that we're like constantly able to practice, but there's just so much more stuff in the outside world and like homework and whatever. It feels like it's just almost impossible to really schedule in like dedicated hours to like working like and just progressing on your instrument. Like at least that's how I felt for the majority of my time there.
right. And you were pretty much like the really, really busy guy in San Marcos. Like you're with all these different bands.
Yeah, I was playing a lot in San Marcos and Austin, and I mean, I could have said no to a lot of opportunities and worked on myself, which I mean, it would have probably had a different benefit, but
Probably.
I mean, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah, but you're getting your
I'm
name out
fortunate to be
there.
busy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
man.
getting
Like,
your name out there. Yeah, you're getting your name out there, and like you're just getting your playing experience, which is something I wish
exactly.
I did over there. Like, and that I think this might be an interesting thing to talk about too. Is
Sure.
like what was like the playing stuff like with the COVID type of thing, like transitioning
like what?
between, like
Yeah,
transitioning from
man. It was
live,
rough.
yeah, live to live stream.
Dude, it just wasn't the same. Like, I know, I think it was in I want to say like early April, like the first week of April. My band, Black Odyssey, we did a live stream in Austin, and it was so weird. We were playing on this stage that was like at a venue that probably had like 500 or 600, max capacity, and we were only playing for like 6 people. Like
Oh.
it was like the band, and then it was like a camera person, a sound engineer, the people hosting the shows, 2 of them, and then like 2 guests that people brought, and it was just like it was a different experience, but at the same time, it didn't feel intimidating. Like, there's the nerves that you get playing in front of a lot of people, but it felt like we were just in a rehearsal room, just like jamming, having fun. So it was okay. It wasn't as rewarding as playing to a lot of people, and like being able to, I guess, really see the impact you have on the crowd. Like giving off the energy and having them receive it and then giving it back, you know?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it was a good time. And then also like the gig situation, COVID canceling all the gigs. Like, I'm sure you've experienced it too. It's just,
Oh yeah.
you know, a lot of money that could have been made and opportunities to just play. It just poof disappeared.
Yeah,
So.
especially South by Southwest too.
Oh
like,
yeah, that was the big one, man.
Yeah, and like I'm like just thinking of a silver lining between that. Like, well, I'm not sure if what I'm about to say was silver lining, but I actually saw like a post that it was a website dedicated to like people who lost a lot of like income for South by Southwest, and I didn't notice, but apparently florists make money during South by Southwest and all that. I was like, wait,
Oh, wow.
and there's other people, and I was like, wait, these people actually make money during South by Southwest and all that. But yeah, I was very, very surprised. And I didn't even realize when this COVID stuff was happening that like first was South by Southwest, then there was the Houston Rodeo. And that got canceled because one person showed symptoms of it and all that. And then just escalated and all that. Now stuff is starting to open back in Texas.
Me personally, I wouldn't want to go out to like a bar or like a venue or high populated places. Sorry, I know the wind chimes are loud. Can you still hear me? Like pretty all right? Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's very minimal and all that. It adds character. It adds character to the podcast.
But yeah, man, like I don't want to go out and potentially catch something or if I'm asymptomatic, potentially give something, you know what I'm saying? So
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm very cautious too and all that. It's like I do occasionally like go out and support like some of my musician friends in Houston, or just like trying to network with some of the people.
I mean, as long as you're just following, you know, the standard safety protocols.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll occasionally get that drunk guy, and he'll be like, "Sonny," and he'll just grab you by the neck. This happened to me. This actually happened to me a couple of days ago.
Oh, man.
And I was like, watch out for those people. And so I went back home, and then I just took a nice shower. And I was like, yep, I'm going to be careful and all that because I'm being responsible and all that. But anyway.
Yeah, so, man, I'm sorry that happened.
That's cool.
I would have been pretty upset with that guy. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing touching me like that? You know what's going on in the world? Like,
yeah. It's just like this topic can like just turn very, very political, and I've had some people that talk about it too, and some people don't believe in it. Some people do, and I'm just on like the cautious side and all that. Yeah. It's like I'm just being very careful and all that.
Good, man. Just stay safe. Like protect your health, and you know, just do your part to not spread it. That's what I'm trying to do, and I advise everybody listening to stay safe and you know don't go out and risk a day of you know boredom or selfishness to have pleasure at your own expense and potentially risk other people's lives, you know?
Yeah. This is y'all's wake-up call, guys. Go practice. Go practice, guys. Listen to this podcast and practice at the same time.
I'm getting off my soapbox.
Oh, God.